So today we are going to discuss the functions relevant to human resource management. We have job design, job analysis, manpower planning, recruitment, selection, hiring, induction, performance appraisal, training and development, employee movements, changes, management of payments, employee welfare, disciplinary management, health and safety management, grievances handling, employer and employee relations. So nothing to worry, we will be discussing each function now. So job design. First, we are going to discuss about job design. So generating or creating of a job. Simply job designing means you are going to generate or create a job to achieve a certain goal. It's the simplest idea of this, right? So you are going to generate or you are going to create a job to achieve a certain goal is there no. That can be simply stated as job designing. Arrangement of tasks. So in job designing, you are going to arrange tasks, duties, and responsibilities assigned for a work unit of the firm in order to achieve a particular goal. Is known as the job design. So that could be simply stated as job designing. So every job comprises of tasks, duties, and responsibilities, right? So if we take a teacher, the teaching job comprises of tasks. There are some tasks, there are some duties, and there are some responsibilities, right? While a task is a work activity comprises of moments and can be identified certainly, right? A duty is a larger part of work comprises of many tasks. What is a duty? A duty is a large part of work comprises of many tasks which is completed by an individual, right? Accordingly, duty is wider than a task. Yes, so from this we can come to a conclusion that duty is wider than a task. Responsibility is the bond over fulfilling a task in the proper way or in the expected way, right? So you have an obligation, right? You have a responsibility. That's the bond over fulfilling a task in the proper way or in the expected way, right? For an example, if the teacher has been assigned for some tasks, right? So the teacher has a responsibility of fulfilling a task, right? To produce better results, right? That's the responsibility, or in the expected way, right? In the proper way or in the expected way. Next, job analysis. So what is this job analysis? The job analysis is the systematic review of the features and related behaviors of a job and the qualities and qualifications and the qualifications that should be possessed by the employee. Information taken from the job analysis is used to prepare the job description and job specification, right? So the information that you gather from the job analysis is issued to prepare the job description and job specification. Job description. The job description is the statement which describes the task, duties, responsibilities, working conditions, and how about the payments and what are the benefits and how many hours the employee should work, the nature of the job, and to whom she is responsible relevant to a certain job is job description. The same then job specification is this is a document that is prepared containing the qualifications that should be possessed by the individuals who would be considered for recruitment is known as the job specification. That means if a person need to be recruited, what qualifications he or she should have, right? So these things are specified in the job specification. Such qualifications can be stated as follows. So the qualifications can be educational qualifications, can be professional qualifications or physical fitness, experience, specialized skills, linguistic knowledge, attitudes and passion, general knowledge, intelligence level, like this, right? Now let us look into the differences, right? Let us look into the differences between job description and job specification. So job description, it describes the job, right? It describes the job. But job specification, it describes the person. Describes the job. Job specification describes the person. And job description is a document on the characteristic of the job. What are the characteristics of the job? But the job specification is a document on human characteristics that should be to fulfill the job successfully, right? Then job description, it is a list of the characteristic of a job, right? Then job specification is a list of human characteristics needed for the fulfillment of the job. Then job specification is a part of the job description. Job description is not included in the job specification, right? So job specification is a part of the job description, but job description is not included in the job specification, right? So you should be clear on that. Now let us discuss about human resource planning. So what is human resource planning? The process of determining the future employee requirements, right? So in the future, how many employees will require, right? And making decisions regarding the activities to be implemented to fulfill those requirements, right? In order to achieve the goals and objectives of a firm is there now, guys. So that can be simply stated as human resource planning. That means one, you are determining in the future how many employee requirements are necessary. And not only that, and also you are making decisions regarding the activities to be implemented to fulfill those requirements. Why? In order to achieve the goals and objectives of a firm is there now. That is human resource planning, right? Let us see why. Following are the reasons for human resource planning to be important. Why you need to do human resource planning? Why is it important? Let us see. You have the ability to determine the future human resource requirements. So in the future, your company or your organization, how many human resources are needed, right? Because if you don't have sufficient amount of human resources, then you can't continue your production, and you won't be able to achieve your organizational goals and objectives. Then to ability to minimize labor cost, yes, obvious, to minimize the labor cost by identifying excess or deficiency in a labor and taking necessary actions for them, right? So you should not have excess, at the same time you should not have deficiency in labor, right? Ability to avoid unnecessary costs that may occur due to sudden recruitments, right? So ability to utilize human resources efficiently and productively. So if you are having proper human resource planning, you have the ability to utilize human resources efficiently and productively. And also ability to lead the other management functions of the organization in the expected manner. So you have the other management functions, right? So in order to lead them, HR planning is very important. And also for the development of highly competent employees, you need a HR planning. So the steps of a process of human resources planning are mentioned below. Consist of steps, right? Let us see what are those. You need to forecast the future human resource requirements. So in the future, how many human resources you need. Then you need to assess the human resource supply, right? You are going to assess the human resource supply. Then you need to compare the demand and supply of human resources. So by forecasting, you are forecasting you need this number of human resources, and you are going to assess the supply. Then you are going to compare the demand and supply of human resources. Then you need to develop the strategies to be implemented to recruit the human resources, right? Next one, preparing the human resources planning. Then finally, evaluating the efforts taken for human resource planning. These are the steps of a process of human resource planning, right? So, forecasting the future human resource requirement is the first step, right? Forecasting the future human resource requirement is the first step of the human resource planning process. By forecasting the future influence of the factors that affect the demand of the human resources as accurately as possible, the determining of the employee requirements of the firm for the determined period of time is called as forecasting the human resource requirements, which is called the demand. And also you have the factors to be considered in forecasting human resource requirements, right? There are some factors, right? The factors influence for the human resource demand, right? There are some factors which influence for the human resource demand. So let us see. Demand for the particular goods or services. So if there is a higher demand for your goods or services, the demand for the HR also will be increased. Then objectives of the firm, right? And also production method. What sort of a production method are you using? Then future retirements of the employees. How many employees are going to retire in the firm in the future? The number of employees to be resigned. So if there are many employees resign, you need employees for that place, right? The number of employees getting promotions, future projects, termination of service, right? These are the factors that you need to consider when forecasting future forecasting the human resource requirements, right? Then assessing in human resource supply is the second step. Now we are coming to the second step. We are going to assess the human resource supply of second step of the process of human resource planning. Having forecasted human resource requirements, the human resource supply should be assessed to fill the determined vacancies. Yeah. So there are two sources of human resources supply. So basically, there are two sources of human resources supply. Let us discuss them. One is going to be internal supply. The following factors will be considered in human resource supply within the firm, right? Example, the nature of the labor market, the labor demand of competitive firms. So comparing the demand and supply of human resources is the third step of the process of human resource planning. The comparison between the forecasted human resource requirement and the assessed internal human resources supply will take place in this step. Yes. So accordingly, it can be identified if there is a deficiency or an excess in human resource. So if you ask me why you need to compare the demand and supply, why? To identify if there is a deficiency or an excess in human resource. That's the purpose of comparing demand and supply. Next, developing the strategies is the fourth step. So having the human resource supply and the demand compared, you don't look up and wait, right? You need to create strategies, right? So strategies should be decided to remove the decided surplus or the deficiency of the employees, right? So for an example, if there is a surplus in number of employees, you can discontinuing the recruitment, so letting to retire can be done, right? If there is a surplus. But if there is an inadequacy in number of employees, you can get overtimes done by the existing employees, right? Then next one, evaluating of the efforts taken of human resource planning should be conducted. Next step, evaluating of the efforts taken for human resource planning should be conducted to determine the contribution provided from human resource planning for the fulfillment of the goals and objectives of the firm. So next step, by assessing the process, the success of the process, the success of the process can be measured through the facts such as have unpredicted job vacancies been created, or not? Have the vacancies been increased, decreased, how much did it cost, etc.